Zone's Mako.
Yeah, Zone's Mekamar is very, very tried and true. To me, in my personal opinion, it is very much a map where you can run a lot of different things. You do have a decent amount of sight lines, you have a decent amount of cover, you have a decent amount of ledges, so a lot of different weapon types can be used here, depending on the style your team wants to use. But of course, since there are a bit more ledges than your normal map, you know, stuff like blasters, buckets, and rollers kind of favor this map a little bit more, but it is not to an egregious amount that you still you still don't want to run a lot of the other different weapons here.
Zones typically also tends to lean towards more the teams that are able to take control of those angles a lot more effectively, like you mentioned, those ledges, just keeping out those lockout situations. And as well as what you said before, it is a great starting map for teams to pretty much have a variety of weapons to utilize whatever they may be. It's another sandbox type map like we see in Game 3 with Splatoon Tacklefish. Both these maps have a lot of playability and how teams can really approach it. And speaking of these teams, Yaotl Teotl, one of the teams, our higher seed, seed 4, have yet to play any match in Great White Bracket. They received that first round bye. On the other side, Question Mark got the upset in a 2-1 fashion over seed 5 in round 1. But with enough being said, let's just jump straight into it as we get a first look at both these teams' comps.
Ooh, an E-liter paired with a blaster. That's a very interesting combination there. And of course, on the other side, we do see the custom E-liter coming out as well. Two different kind of playstyles they want to run for these E-liters specifically, and how they want to try and approach these fights. But I guess we'll see exactly how successful they will be here with the support of the rest of their team, since I don't really see anything too out of the ordinary as well. We see our tacticals and we see our frontlining weapons as well.
Yeah, Question Mark with the early wipeout, strong approach, just pretty much 3 players of Question Mark approached Yaotl Teotl on that left side, pushing up with that aggressive 1-2 combo you have with the Gal and the Sea Blast. On the other side, not to be outdone, you have a Gal in it themselves on the Question Mark side and Comrade on that Carbon, typically fairly seen on that Carbon. However, they are getting shot out by this E-liter. Really nicely done for Question Mark just to continuously apply this pressure, forcing Yaotl Teotl to feed into their shark-infested waters. And as you see on the map, it is all yellow in mid.
Yeah, I mean, with this E-liter setup, it's going to be a very hard thing to try and push it out there. You need to commit a lot of specials and a lot of pressure on your side to finally flush them out. And with the killer roll, they were able to do that. And just like that, they're able to completely nullify the zone, get it back onto their side, and deal the heavy amount of penalty points to Question Mark, as they're now forced to regroup here once again, starting to stagger a little bit as Yaotl Teotl taking these openings with stride to keep things under their tempo.
And this was the back and forth I was talking about before we entered this game. Both teams getting an opportunity to create lockout situations. It's all going to come down to who's able to do it that bit better. Comrade potentially getting a shark there, but is eventually snuffed out. Almost got taken out on that right side. But now with Yaotl Teotl with that stronghold buying so much time, even without getting that pick, they're able to get that lead off of just creating so much space, creating that 3-down situation, and just putting so much space in between the zone and Question Mark that it took them too long to get into the zone to retain that lead.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these team comps, you know, even though they have like some few key differences, a lot of the setup here is getting this E-liter in position so they can just maintain control. Once that leader is out of position, it's very hard for the opposing team to really get things back onto their footing. And the current team right now, Question Mark, knows exactly what Yaotl Teotl wants to do, since they're playing pretty much almost a very similar weapon comp. So they're doing everything they can to prevent them from being gang set up, and just leading to this snowball scenario with only 10 ticks remaining on the zone. Yaotl Teotl needs to move in fast. They want to try to stay a little bit longer. Question Mark doing everything they can to keep it neutralized at the very least, but no, they unfortunately do go down.
Yeah, and that was a much-needed retake from Yaotl Teotl. Really nicely done with slightly lesser paints that you would argue on the side of Question Mark. I mean, when you take a look at both the teams' comps, they're both running that Zap and both running that Gal and both an E-liter as well. So those 3 weapons themselves, they do have that Zap as the main support shooter, but besides that, you have a Sea Blast on the side of Question Mark, and you have that Carbon on with Comrade for for Yaotl Teotl, it's really difficult to paint the zone without your main support up. So it's going to be an interesting just tug of war that these teams and mind game these teams are going to have to play, really targeting that main support that you have here. And Yaotl Teotl now knocking at the doorstep of Question Mark, looking to take that lead. And more importantly, they could take this one in a quick knockout, but no, there's the splashdown coming out from the left side. Really nicely done by Ali to save face, give Question Mark a little bit more opportunity to at least live to fight another day, but Yaotl Teotl are not giving this one up lightly.
No, this utter mayhem here in Med, constant fighting, constant back and forth between these teams, just using specials whenever they can. A good shutdown from Nazuka here from Question Mark's own Elia there, as now Yaotl Teotl's down a player, but Tactical is online, so these fights are going to be more favored towards them and on their side if they can get these proper engagements here. Penalty points is starting to tick down. We are at the final minute of this game, and there's a 3-point differential. It is neck and neck at this point.
One shot on this left side with the stack, just looking over the zone. Could hit a very nice shot just to secure this one for Yaotl Teotl, but it doesn't look like any member of Question Mark is in a position. No, they won't be able to hold control of that zone in time as Yaotl Teotl punch back really nicely to take game 1 in this best of 3, taking zones on Macomart. Game 1 now up 1-0 in the set.
Yeah, a very good starter for Yaotl Teotl as they can get their footing here in this second game in the bracket series, you know. And it's a funny thing to see how both these two teams are E-Leader teams, at least for this first game at the very least, that they kind of know what the other team wants to do, so it was just more of a way like how can they leverage their own E-Leader without utterly falling into some of the traps that they as a team themselves would try and set up for the other E-Leader. It was an interesting dynamic because you saw once one of the once the E-Leader goes down or was pushed out of position, the enemy team was quick to push up against that E-Leader and force them out and take the zone and take the space that they need.
Yeah, wrap around too as well. The only major difference between both sides was, of course, that carbon on Yaotl Teotl and that sea blast on the other. Now, the carbon, you typically have an easier time of getting those guaranteed kills. Of course, you have a big one-shot capability. Same thing with the sea blast, but I would argue just a little bit easier to do with a carbon that has its own swing factor, and they both act fairly similarly as those weapons that you want to get into the face of the other team. You kill them pretty easily, you splat them pretty easily, but with the sea blast, you have the splashdown that Ali was able to use, but it was just not enough. As you saw, that killing power could prove to be a blessing and a curse with having that carbon just being able to do it more easily, as Ali was unable to really complete that left side flank and ultimately allowed Yaotl Teotl to get control back into the zone. So it's going to be up to these teams to see if they want to stick with what they had. Remember, now Yaotl Teotl just need to win one more to take this one home, and it does look like Question Mark still sticking with stuff fairly similar and the same thing as Yaotl Teotl as well, but this time we're on TC.
Yeah, both teams confident with their weapon lineup. At the very least, they are just going to be doing a few different changes with their game plan here with on tower control under Toastbeltway. A huge opener from Question Mark gets returned as well from Yaotl Teotl, one down on each side, as both these two teams make an explosive entry here against each other. But Question Mark with the tactical is going to come out on top first here, and they most likely will be able to get the first points on the board.
Ali poking around this left side, Sea Blast and any blaster, as a matter of fact, could go well into this, but Comrade is there with a quick answer, the 1-2. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, just getting into the face of Question Mark. That carbon is so deadly in doing so. It just left to 4K on this right side. They're left with that gal just trying to buy some time. Do manage to find one on the carbon, but being taken out themselves, at the very least buying time for the rest of Question Marks to regain control of the map. That was really nicely done at the very least, just understanding the situation, saying, hey, at the very least I can buy time for my team to come back and save some ground, because in the game of Splatoon, having that space control is far more important than having that numbers control.
Yeah, spatial control is a very key factor to this, and it goes to show with one shot here on the E leader on top of this tower, being able to command a large presence here, forcing Question Mark to be very wary with how they want to approach this. Make sure they have the specials to try and force this E leader out if they can, but it doesn't seem like they have any specials that can do that just yet. Already at the second checkpoint now, Yaotl Teotl wanted to make sure they can try and clear the path before they try and overcommit here, but without the players to support that push, they're just gonna back up a little bit. But no, re-engaging once again. Yaotl Teotl is not letting this momentum go with the Kraken onto the tower. I'm pretty sure that second checkpoint is going to go now.
Yeah, one shot, using that Kraken just to stay alive. You see the dive coming in from the Zap. They are taken out from the side of Question Mark, and 2 players in total down from both sides. One shot, the Tower Rider does recognize the danger, just backing up towards mid, recognizing that opportunity just to get in some jumps, and here come the jumps. Lex moving in now as well, coming off of that, but one shot going down. You have the opportunity for Question Mark to punch right back. You do have a major lead, yes, in the favor of Yaotl Teotl, but Question Mark still plenty of time to really operate with. 2 minutes 40 seconds left, and now with Cooler in their pocket, they could potentially make a punch back into mid.
Yeah, I mean, with how the last game went, it would not surprise me if Question Mark can actually contest that lead in this incoming push here. But Yaotl Teotl seems to know that might be a thing that they're looking for right now, and are actually just playing it slow and steady, making sure that they don't give up too much space to Question Mark here. But it does seem to break loose as Ali is going on the deep end and uses the smash down to try and cause some chaos, but does not find anyone. And I think that's a crucial fault there, as Yaotl Teotl still holds strong here in mid before using the Trizuka to try and keep the space as best they can before utterly going down. It's utter madness. Specials are being thrown left and right.
Yeah, and you still see Yaotl Teotl giving Question Mark the business every step of the way. Question Mark having to fight for every inch of space, when contrastingly on the other side, Yaotl Teotl had very few issues pushing through that first and second checkpoint, but this push has pretty much taken about a minute and a half to really get going. But finally, Question Mark have arrived at that second checkpoint, now ticking away at it, potentially looking for a quick switch here, but one shot being able to take out the other leader, trying to find that pressure out will allow for the rest of Yaotl Teotl to move in, complete that wipeout in 1:25. That was nicely done from Yaotl Teotl to secure that area and to keep this lead. Now pressure still on Question Mark to make that move into mid.
Yeah, Comrade moving into position themselves to meet the incoming members from Question Mark, but unfortunately was sniffed out by the blaster and shut down immediately, causing a lot of their frontline pressure to be gone in a matter of seconds, as they weren't even at that contention point yet. And just like that, Yaotl Teotl's own push just eventually fell apart from that, as now Question Mark was able to regain their ground, regain the tower, and now with the tower under their control once again here, they're looking to try and see if they can contest the lead once again. That second checkpoint, crucially though, is still up, so that means that they have to be ready to stand still here for a few seconds. And do they have the tools to try and contest that? It's going to be a hard thing to tell.
AF Burger actually getting taken out. Nice shot coming out from one shot. Speaking of which, that cooler will not be used here for the side of Question Mark. Actually, you do have it already out, so the little bit of space to be had. Ali, the last player standing for Question Mark in the general vicinity of the tower, but time is ticking out. 20 ticks left, 20 seconds left, as tower is being touched, just slowly but surely moving towards this elbow position on the left side. But it's such a difficult choke point to really break through if you don't have any specials. You do have a wave breaker to maybe help get assist into some picks, but with 2 players going down, Yaotl Teotl has smelt blood in the water. They're going straight for that tower. 3 players go down, and that is the wipeout for Yaotl Teotl. Really nicely done, just playing the long game, keeping Question Mark stuck at that elbow position for a good 2.5 minutes, a majority of the match pretty much, and giving them no room to come back as Yaotl Teotl move on in Great White.
Yeah, a good play from Yaotl Teotl there to actively be cognizant of the timer and being aware of what these